Welcome to the Random City Podcast.
Chester Copperpot! He was a pro! He never made it this far.
A competitor. He was very good.
Are you telling me that you built a time machine out of a DeLorean?
Back off, man. I'm a scientist.
Just listen to the old Pork Chop Express speak his advice on a dark and stormy night.
A person is smart, people are dumb, panicky, dangerous animals, and you know it.
When Godzilla's coming, y'all be tripping.
Where did you come from? From your blood.
I'm Groot. You will be.
You underestimate my power.
He's gonna be the third scariest thing on that train.
These guys come from legend. They're basically gods.
There's only one god, man, and I'm pretty sure he doesn't dress like that.
Welcome back to the Random City Podcast. I'm Jimmy in Georgia. It is time to get random once again. It is December the 31st as I'm recording. Hopefully this will be edited and posted to the podcast feed before the new year rings in. So either way, a belated Merry Christmas and Happy New Year to you and yours. I'm back today to talk about mostly one thing, I guess. I don't know. This is kind of how my podcasting stuff works. When I have something that I like, I'm interested, I'm excited about, I like to talk about it. And sometimes those things aren't necessarily there. So right now, I have a movie in particular I'd like to talk about. And so we're probably going to hop right into that. Spider-Man Into the Spiderverse was a recent Sony Animation release. Still in theaters. Just saw it a few days ago. We took our 10-year-old nephew. Well, he's 9. He'll be 10 in about a week. We took our 9-year-old nephew to see this, and he said it was his favorite movie ever. I'd say it's probably my favorite movie of this year. It would top over Black Panther, probably. I don't know. That was a really good movie, but I honestly had more fun in this one, and that's one of the things I want in a movie. I want to have fun, and it was so much goodness all around. It was what a comic book movie should be in so many ways. I enjoyed how they used actual comic book things and themes throughout the entire movie. I enjoyed in certain scenes, maybe not the whole movie, but certain scenes that even looked like a comic book, had like little circles, the little comic booky things on it. It was really cool looking. I really enjoyed Miles Morales' story. I've heard of him for years. I mean, I don't know how long ago it was that his comics have come out, but I remember years ago people were saying Donald Glover should play him in a movie, that thing. And so I've heard about the character, never read any of those books, never seen anything with him in it before. And he's awesome. I love his extra powers that he has. Spoiler alert. I guess I should go ahead and say for the movie, I love he can be invisible. He has some kind of like electroshock thing happening, which is totally different and stuff. That's very cool. Just in general, though, I enjoyed how one thing, apart from all the others, I guess I'll mention this first. I love that this was a sequel to the Tobey Maguire Spider-Man movies, and they referenced quite a few things that he did in those movies. I think that's great. I really, really do. And for my nephew, he's only ever seen those. He's seen some of the newer Marvel movies, yes. But as far as Spider-Man, he never has seen the Amazing Spider-Man movies, even though I thought those are both pretty good. The second one, not as much, but hey, that happens in movies. But he's only ever seen those first three. Well, I say only, but he loves those first three with Tobey Maguire. Hasn't seen the Andrew Garfield, and he did see Spider-Man Homecoming. We showed that to him last time he was up here visiting. And he liked it, but I still think he likes the Tobey Maguire stuff the best. And so I'm sure that kind of helps with his whole liking of this movie, and it helped with my liking of it. I liked that there was that, but apparently that Spider-Man died. I don't know, just the whole story, all the different universes, all the different multiverses, I guess, coming together. It was just fun. It really, really was fun. I enjoyed seeing Spider-Man Noir by Nick Cage, Spider-Ham. I don't even remember. Is it Penny Parker is the girl from the future with the robot and the buddy? Or the spider inside a robot? I honestly don't even remember. I'd have to look that up, I guess. It was fun. It was really fun. I liked how cartoony Spider-Ham was. I liked that he said that's all, folks, at one point. And then the other Spider-Man that was older is like, can he legally say that? That's great. I mean, Lord and Miller, do it again. I mean, they're fantastic. They do great work. And I would really love to have seen what their Han Solo movie was. I'm sure we never will. I just don't think that. Well, I say that at some point maybe we might. I mean, 30 whatever years later, we got a Richard Donner cut of Superman 2. And granted, not everything was filmed, so they had to use footage from the other film, but still, maybe, who knows, the footage exists. I think they were 95% of the way finished, so I don't know. It'd be a interesting thing if they ever did that. Same thing with Rogue One. They could have a special edition of this with a whole alternate movie, basically. It seems like, but I don't know. Anyway, Lord Miller, fantastic job. Looking forward to the Lego Movie 2, the second part. That looks like fun. And yeah, that's what I want in a movie. That's what I want when I go to the movies. I want to have fun. I want to have a good time. I want to be entertained. I want to enjoy my time there. I want to feel like I've gotten my money's worth. And I could say all those things about this movie. I mean, other movies that I've kind of felt this way about, I would liken this into like the first Avengers feeling of this was just cool, this is fun, oh wow, look at that. Maybe the Muppets when they came out in 2011, it was such a fun experience. And there's a few others, like the Guardians of the Galaxy when it first came out was so much fun. There just haven't been as many of those the last couple years, I don't feel like. Just trying to think of anything else that sticks out. I really enjoyed Spider-Man Homecoming. That was a great movie, but I liked Into the Spiderverse much better. Anyway, I love this movie. It was fantastic. I'll definitely be watching it again. Maybe picking up the soundtrack. I like the music in it. The visuals were just great, like I think I've already mentioned. Spider-Gwen, I've been seeing Spider-Gwen for a while on social media, especially Instagram, doing art and things. I drew a Spider-Gwen earlier this year, around the same time Black Panther came out. Again, never read the comic. I knew she was Gwen Stacy, but somehow Spider-Person, so that was fun to see her in action. I really liked Miles' dad and his uncle, that whole plot line, that whole thing. I guess it was Doc Ock's wife in this movie. I don't honestly, I don't remember 100% on that part. The one thing I would say I probably disliked, the only thing that sticks out to me, was the fact that Kingpin just was enormous. Like, I know he's a big guy. It seen him in comic books. He's huge. He seemed too huge. He seemed like a building. He seemed like I don't know. It was oversized, well oversized, and I thought that was strange. And then apart from that, I mean, the Stan Lee cameo, they paid tribute to Stan Lee in the mid-credit, kind of where you think a scene might be. Had a quote from Stan. There was a post-credit scene that I actually missed in the theater. I didn't think there would be anything, and after the thing where they showed Stan Lee's glasses and had his quote, and so we left. And so I missed the part where Spider-Man 2099 goes into Spider-Man 67's cartoon, and they have a discussion about pointing. I totally missed that. Oh, I saw it today, and I downloaded it. I haven't looked at it too much, but Lord Miller, one of those, somehow through Sony, posted the entire script of the movie. I downloaded it. I'm like, that's kind of awesome. Wow, it's just cool what people can do these days in the digital world that we live in. I don't know, I guess just to kind of wrap up a little bit here of the Spider-Man verse. I know I'm kind of all over the place. I thoroughly enjoyed the movie. I loved the little introductions that each of the Spider-Mans gave to themselves. I liked how the worlds were crashing together. I liked how the villain, actually killed Spider-Man. That never happens. But then his whole motivation was to save his family that he caused their own death. But the villain doesn't see that he caused it death. He blames it on Spider-Man. And then the whole process does it again to 2 or 3 other versions of his family. Just very ironic and kind of heartbreaking a little bit, I guess. I don't know, just so sad. I don't know, Kingpin in this movie, it was weird. I like the character mostly from the Daredevil series on Netflix. We saw season 1, never finished season 2, never watched season 3, didn't get to the Defenders. I kind of got bogged down in Jessica Jones. I watched it. I wasn't a fan for the most part, but we ended up finishing it finally. So we never watched Luke Cage, we never watched Iron Fist, and just got a little ways into Daredevil season 2, and I just overall just kind of lost interest in how dark and gritty, and I don't know. I like fun, and those weren't necessarily fun. Occasionally they were kind of fun on the Daredevil ones. Anyway, Wilson Fisk, he was super evil, and his whole plan backfired, which is just, sad. I hope there's sequels to this. I would absolutely love to see more of this. I saw on Amazon there's a Spiderverse like paperback of like all the stories or whatnot, and then there was also kind of a prequel of 5 of the Spider people, and you can get a paperback version of that for really cheap. It was like $8, $9, and I think I might check that out just to get more familiar with this whole thing. And I said this about Black Panther a while back. When I see the comic book movie and it makes me want to check out comic books, I feel like the movie has been successful, and this has done that. I've liked Spider-Man since I was a little kid. One of my first introductions to the character was on the Electric Company. I remember that when I was real little. I also remember around that same time, or a few years later, Spider-Man and His Amazing Friends. I've talked about that before. I loved Spider-Man and His Amazing Friends. To this day, still my favorite cartoon of Spider-Man. And then, I enjoyed the Tobey Maguire movies up until the third one. And there was parts of the third one I liked, but even then, not so much. And I liked the first Amazing Spider-Man a whole bunch. There was definitely, again, parts of the second one I wasn't so big on. But so far with Tom Holland, and I guess the 3 movies he's been in with Civil War, Homecoming, and Infinity War, I've really enjoyed him as Spider-Man. Looking forward to more of his character out there in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. But man, I want to see some more Into the Spider-Verse stuff. It's so good. So good. All right, so one other thing I want to mention before we close up. The last few days over on Instagram, I've been doing some Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse sketches. I have done actually 2 Miles Morales sketches. One of them was digital. Wasn't super duper happy with that. And so I did some more traditional ones. I did one of Miles as Spider-Man, one of Spider-Ham, aka Peter Porker, and then I just did one today of Spider-Man Noir. And so at some point I will do a Spider-Gwen and maybe the more normal Spider-Man. So if you want to check those out, that's at Jimmy and Georgia, JIMMYINGA on Instagram, Twitter, etc. I guess that's going to wrap up this random episode, this short little edition of the podcast. And for the last time of 2018, thank you for listening. Check us out on social media. We are at Random City on Twitter, at Random City Podcast on Instagram. You can find the podcast in lots of different ways, but if you're listening, you've already found it. We're on YouTube, we're on Apple Podcast, iTunes, we're in Stitcher, we're in the Satchel Player, Google Play, all over the place. So thanks for checking us out. If you can, leave us a rating, leave us a review. That would be fantastic. And if you want to reach out to me, make a comment about Spider-Man or whatever else random topic you want to discuss, email me at randomcitypodcast@gmail.com or call into the show 773-71-RANDOM. And would love to hear your thoughts, your comments, your questions. And until next year. I always like that joke. Anyway, until next year, I'm Jimmy and Georgia. Peace.